Hey everyone, this is PM Sport Talk, the father and son duo podcast. I'm your host Preston, alongside my father Mike and dad. How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Another wacky weekend of sports, getting close to the end of college football regular season. Let's get into it. I'm ready to go.
Well, let's go with college football first. I like where you headed with that one. Undefeated Indiana, ranked 5th going into this game, played against number 2 Ohio State, who was entering this game at 9-1. The game did not go how Indiana planned, and the game went how most fans expected. Ohio State dominated from the beginning, 38-15, and the win.
This was a really big game for Indiana, and all the naysayers been saying for weeks now they haven't played anybody. Schedule is horrible. We're not going to know anything until they play Ohio State. They were all proved right. Indiana, was it 7-0 Indiana? Was
Yes,
right. Yeah.
sir.
You thought, well, maybe they're going to make a game of this. But it was all downhill after that. Ohio State scored 31 straight right after that, and pretty much how most of us thought it was going to go. I thought they might keep it a little closer, but I really didn't think they had any chance to beat Ohio State. They just haven't played anybody. It's Indiana, and normally I would root for Indiana to beat Ohio State, because I'm not a big Ohio State guy. Obviously, I'm a Michigan guy.
Yeah.
But that coach for Indiana, he acts like they've already won a championship. I get it's great to be confident and all that, but man, he's tough to take. Even after the game, he's like, "Wow, hasn't changed anything." Well, he might be right. They might still make the playoff, but in my mind, it changed everything. It showed that you're not that good. You haven't beat anybody, and when you had one team maybe be competitive with, you weren't competitive at all. So I'm done with Indiana. They might make the college football playoff, but they're going to get beat in the first game, and that'll be the end of the season. I mean, it's still a good season for them, I guess. They never are that competitive in college football. So the fact that they're 9-1, 10-1, I guess they're 10-1 is a big deal. But unless they go out and win a game in that college football playoff, they're just, I don't know. It's almost like they're getting a spot because other teams, like in the SEC, lost, not because of what they did.
Yeah, it seemed like though this game was personal for Ohio State. Ryan Day, you saw he was pretty fired up about this win and didn't stop until the clock hit triple zeros. Before this game, he was featured on the Pat McAfee show, where Pat McAfee was saying this Indiana team is tough and they're pretty good this year. And Ryan Day was like, yeah, well, so are we. And that was kind of like his mindset. Like he was kind of sick of this Indiana talk and wanted to put it out, showing that they still are the little brothers in the Big Ten. That was a big statement win for Ohio State. And if you also saw during the game, mentioned, Dad, how Kurt Signetti gets on your nerves very easily.
He
W-
does. He's hard to take.
Will Howard Will Howard was on the sideline after scoring the late touchdown, running up the score, many would say, putting out a fake cigarette and stomping it and putting it out. Did you catch
I
that?
did catch that. I wasn't sure what that was all about, but
And then they cut it to Signetti kind of just
yeah,
waving it off.
yeah. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, like I said, I'm not a big Ohio State fan. I'm not a big Ryan Day fan either. But Cincinnati deserved that. Just his interviews in the last couple of weeks. If you just go and listen to any of his interviews, he's pretty cocky. The fact that he lost, kind of had it coming, I think. So
And boy, Gus Johnson at the beginning of the game, you didn't see this because I think you were out, but I was watching the TV and Gus Johnson was, of course, doing his normal big noon intro to the game that he's commentating and goes on to say how great Kurt Signetti is for a good 1 to 2 minutes before they bring in Joel Klatt, kind of saying Kurt Signetti as some elite coach or something like that. I think it just feels good for not just Ohio State, but some of the college football world in general to just put out this Indiana talk about how there's some great team this year.
yeah, like I said before, they have played absolutely nobody. The only team that they played was Michigan, and Michigan's having a down year.
Yeah.
And even that, they won by 2 points or 4 points, whatever it was. That game was right down to the end, and Michigan's having a bad year. So, I mean, Michigan they still have a lot of talent on that team, so it's a decent win for Indiana. But That's their best win. A year when Michigan is 6-5. Not a lot to say there. So he got what was coming to him. In my mind, I, if I was in the committee, they would not be in the playoff, but they're going to probably get in. But I just can't put them in there. They haven't beat anybody. We got one more week, so we have to see how it all what happens with these other teams. But I just have a hard time putting them in over like say Texas A&M loses in their conference championship game or something. I wouldn't feel right putting Indiana in over them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just even though they would have 3 losses, maybe 4, but
This committee has shown that they can take anything into play, especially with last year. They considered an injury for taking an undefeated Florida State
that's
out.
true. Yeah, you're right.
So anything's fair game for this committee and who gets in and who's out.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. I tell you what, if SEC only gets 3 teams in, there's gonna be hell to pay because SEC kind of runs college football, and if they only get 3 teams in, I don't know. We'll see, but if that happens, they're definitely going. Well, they're going to 14 teams in a couple years anyway. But
The SEC this weekend took a turn, we'll say, in this playoff hunt for all these teams.
wacky.
Ole Miss loses to Florida, unranked. And just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, Bama loses big time to Oklahoma, 24-3.
Yeah, that one I did not see coming. I'm not shocked that Ole Miss lost to Florida because even though Florida's only like 6-5, they're better than their record.
Cannot, sorry to interrupt you, but I cannot wait to see Florida next year with DJ Lagway. He looks really good. And whenever he's in, that guy plays phenomenal. I still believe Georgia would be at 3 losses right now if Lagway did not get hurt in that game.
It's quite possible. I mean, you see it. Teams go in there to the swamp. It's a hard place to play. I tell you, it doesn't matter what their record is. They usually play really well there. The only team that they didn't play that well against was Texas at home. Or maybe that game was in Texas. I'm not positive, but yeah, they've been playing really well. Not surprised they beat Old Miss at all. Tough place to play.
And also, Jackson Dart made a couple of questionable decisions in that game, especially interception through triple coverage. I'm not quite sure what he was seeing with that
Yeah,
throw.
those last few there, it's like he was just throwing up a wing and a prayer. It's like defenders all around. I'm like, I don't know. He's one of those guys that when he's on, he's good, and then he has these moments where you're like, what is he doing? It's like I think he's going to be an NFL quarterback. I don't know, but God, he's funny at times. Yeah, that's a weird one. But the OU Alabama game, I did not see that coming at all. I really haven't paid that much attention to OU. I guess, well, found out Saturday that their defense is really good. So that hasn't been the problem. It's been their offense this year. And that freshman quarterback that got benched earlier in the season, even though he's a high recruit, he actually played pretty well. So they might have something in Oklahoma going forward next year. But Alabama's like, they're like Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, they beat Georgia, then they lose to Vanderbilt. It's so weird. Nick Saban's not there. So it's hard for a coach to come in and just keep that success going just without any hitch at all. I don't want to get on Kalen DeBoer too much.
I saw a crazy stat the other day. Alabama head coaches, when they play a team that is 14-point underdogs or over, Nick Saban has 3 losses, however many games, to those teams, and Kalen DeBoer already has 2.
Nick Saban had 3 losses the whole time he was there,
To 14-point underdogs.
which is I don't know how he was there a while. So yeah, that's crazy. He already yeah, that's the difference. I don't know if they have the same talent. I'm pretty sure they do. I mean, Jalen Milroe's another thing. He's up and down. Supposed to be an NFL quarterback. I don't know. They're just a tough team to figure out.
That obviously this game could have been over by then, but there's no doubt in my mind that this was the biggest controversy of this weekend, with the Ryan Williams catch for a touchdown being called back for illegal touching. They showed on the broadcast, and the broadcasters and the ESPN college football rules analyst all were like, that is not illegal touching.
Yeah, that was you gotta be a real rule guy to know that one.
That was I've never seen anything like that before. Usually illegal touching comes when you step out of bounds,
Yeah, they're
but
saying it's because he was
covered up or
they're
whatever.
saying it was covered, so it's like normally it would be a lineman that would be covered up. So if a lineman on the outside, if he touched the ball, that'd be illegal touching. But they were saying it was a receiver. He was covered up by the receiver on his outside. They all said no, that's not the case. So I never did hear any more about that. I haven't seen it anywhere, so I don't know if they were right. Maybe the guys on the TV just didn't understand. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That happens a lot. Even those refs that they have in the booth, they get things wrong all the time too. So maybe that was the right call because I didn't hear anything more about it. And the game wasn't over then. OU probably was still going to win, but it wasn't over yet. That could have changed the game, you know. But you know, those things happen. I don't know if it's the right or not. Nobody really said. We're just going by the analysts. But I thought you would have seen something in, you know, on ESPN or, you know, online or whatever, but it wasn't even brought up. So it makes me think that they did get the right call. Anyway, they still shouldn't have lost to an Oklahoma team that's only got what, 5 wins? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, what's the saying? A little thing and a way bigger outcome, I guess. Alabama, that literally probably would not have changed the game one bit. We got Alabama closer.
And you never know. You change the momentum and all that. But just goes to show you going on the road. I mean, that's in Oklahoma. That's a big place. It's not like going to Northwestern or whatever. It's Oklahoma. So any of these games on the road in the SEC, it's hard for the other team to win, even when the other team is favored by quite a bit, which I'm pretty sure Alabama was, like you said, at 14 or whatever. But unbelievable. And barring some crazy things this weekend, and who knows, they're done. They're out of the playoffs. So, which doesn't hurt my feelings any because they're always in there, but that's kind of a shock not to have them in there.
Yeah, especially when it's expanding to 12.
Yeah, it's been 4 for the last I don't know how many years, and they're almost always in it. Now it goes to 12, and they're gonna miss. Hey, you gotta give them a break, though. It's a new coaching system. Nick Saban's been there for all these years. These players that stayed were used to him and the quarterback and all that.
I
So
respect all the players that stayed and gave DeBoer a chance, though.
yeah,
I mean,
it's not like they've been horrible. I
yeah,
mean,
and the guys who transferred or, decommitted, they all acted like DeBoer was some, like, horrible coach. They forgot he was in the national championship. He was a national championship runner-up the year he got hired, so,
yeah, it's not like he's some bum.
yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He just needs a little time. It's a transition. They'll be fine. They're gonna get talent there. They'll be fine. Yeah, a little bit of a shock, but hey, that's the way it is. That conference is so hard.
Well, now that we got through college football, let's get into some NFL with the season somewhat getting near the end. We're past midway, and there were some big stories and amazing games. It started on Thursday in the Snow Bowl with Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Ah, you have to bring that one up.
Sure did. And unfortunate, but it is a big game which got us started
It
on
was
this week.
very frustrating game to watch for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, the story of this game really came down to the defensive line versus the offensive line. The Browns had Jameis Winston, and this is a completely different team than their record, though. Many would look at record and be like, geez, how do you lose to the Browns? They have gotten so much guys back. That offensive line kept Jameis Winston's jersey like unsnowy the whole game.
He never got touched.
And that it may seem little, but that is what wins ball games for NFL teams nowadays.
Yeah, the offensive line is key. I mean, he didn't get touched. I had no pressures on him. TJ Watt didn't get any pressure.
He didn't do anything the
Didn't do
whole game.
anything. He made a couple tackles.
Yeah.
That was it. He didn't get any pressure on the quarterback. Herbig got a couple in there, but that was it. I mean, of course, they're double teaming Watt, so it's not like he was getting singled up, but, you know, usually double teams, he still gets in there, and he did not get in there. But, yeah, they made a big thing on the broadcast there. Herb Street was saying that offensive line's healthy for the first time all year. They got their starters in there, and you can see that's the offensive line that, hey, everybody predicted that the Browns were going to be good this year. So you can see why with that offensive line. Like you said, they're 2-8. 3-8 now, but that doesn't matter. They just beat the Ravens a couple weeks ago too, so better in their record. And Winston gives them life. Watson was just like dead man walking out there. He just had no life. It was like he didn't even want to be out there. He's just going through the motions, it seemed like.
There is like an almost skyrocketing difference between the attitude Watson brings and the attitude Winston brings. And I could tell this Browns locker room feels a lot more alive with Jameis Winston in there at quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, he is what he is. One game he's going to throw for 500 yards. The next game he's going to throw 4 interceptions. So he is what he is. That's what he is as an NFL quarterback. But what he does do is he brings life, brings energy. He tries to lift his teammates up. Seems like he's always happy. Whereas Deshaun Watson was walking around out there like, you know, with his head down.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a bad loss for Pittsburgh. That's one you wanted to have. But I'm not shocked coming off the Ravens game. Well, you know, it's a few days before that, and
a short week playing a division rival and then playing another division rival, that's really tough.
that is tough. And like I said,
And Tomlin's never known for being ready on Thursdays. So
they're horrible on Thursdays. He's now 0-8 against teams in their division on the road. 0-8 on Thursday night. So I saw that stat before the game, and then I was like, yeah, I believe that. But I was like, well, you can't stay 0. You're going to win one of these eventually, right?
yeah.
So I was hoping it was that one, but, plus the snow. I mean, it was for both teams, but you don't know how that affects things. Just, not saying that they would've won if it wasn't snowing, I don't know, but it just, it's just crazy game. It was a fun game to watch, but, different result would've been better for us.
Yeah, some more stories from that game. On the Hail Mary for Pittsburgh to try to get in the end zone and give him one more shot, George Pickens was out of the back of the end zone while the ball was still in the air, fighting Greg Newsome,
I don't get that.
held back by security. And if you thought that was enough for George Pickens that night, in his post-game interview, he says, "I don't think the Cleveland Browns are a good team at all. The snow helped them." That's along the lines of pretty much what he said.
Yeah, he said the conditions is why they lost.
Yeah.
I'm like, why does this guy talk? He just needs to be quiet. He's a great player, but when he opens his mouth, you're like, what are you doing? And then he's always in like a skirmish with somebody.
Yeah. It's these past couple weeks, it seems like it's always been like during the play it happens.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like you said, the Hail Mary's going on, and he's in a fight with Greg Newsom. Like, I'm sure Newsom is not innocent in this, but
Yeah, probably not.
still, Newsom's ahead. So his job is to get you distracted. Your job is to not get distracted and focus on the play, right?
Yeah,
And you didn't. I mean, didn't matter. They weren't going to score there. Did the ball even get to the end zone?
it did.
It did barely, but
That was a good throw if you watch the replay.
I guess it was.
Wilson
Yeah.
got drilled on that
He
play.
did. Yeah, he actually played pretty well. If you look at his stats, he only missed like 6 throws,
Yeah.
and he got sacked a few times. But
A play call, though, the overthrow on third down.
play calling,
Why are you having Justin Fields? If you're having run packaging, if you're going to have him throw, you want him to throw those short routes.
that was the dumbest play I've ever seen.
You want Russ in there if you're going to try a deep bomb to Pickens.
At 3rd and 4, if you get the first down, you're probably winning that game. What do? Like you just said, you bring Fields in. Shouldn't that be like a run pass option?
Yeah.
Let him like run around the corner or a little pass, 4-yard pass for a first down. No, he throws, like you say, he throws the bomb. Now, I've heard some people say, well, that's on Fields. That could be on Fields because he has the option there, whatever is open. But to me, you don't give him that option.
Yeah.
You don't give him that option. If that's an option, then Russell Wilson should have been in there.
Right.
The only option for Fields is, hey, run pass option. You're either handing it off to Harris or Warren, or better, more likely, you're gonna just fake the run and get it yourself.
If you want him to throw it to get him off track, you really should not be having him throw a deep bomb. I'd say like a slant or a drag route.
I get the deception of, like you said, having them in there because the defense is thinking, well, Fields is in there. He's gonna try to run this.
Right.
So yeah, get like you say, a slant, something to Fryermuth or over the middle or to Pickens, whatever. Yeah, that made no sense.
Yeah.
On a day like that, when you have no footing, it's like probably like a 5% chance of working play,
Right. Yeah.
That has no chance. And you took the lead and you let them right back in, and it was that was probably the most frustrating thing of that game was that sequence right there.
And then to end it all off with the cherry on top, Corliss Waitman gets a bad punt.
And that hurt too. I mean, if he gets a decent punt off there, they might not come down to score. So there's just a lot of things. I mean,
A lot of shots to the foot. So yeah, it's just like you gotta be smarter. That's all. Yeah. Take what you saw from that game, what went wrong, and take it for Sunday against Cincinnati.
and that's a hard game too because they can score.
So you gotta get your scoring together. 'Cause that is another team has a bad record, but is beyond better than their record.
yeah, 4-7, but barely lost to the Chiefs because of a pass interference call. Lost to the Ravens twice by a couple points.
Yeah.
2 games they could have easily won. They could easily be 7-4 instead of 4-7. So hard game right there in Cincinnati. Steelers have a very hard schedule, so I'm a little nervous. They have 8 wins, but they need probably 11.
Yeah.
They might get into playoffs with 10, but to win the division, they need at least 11, maybe 12.
Well, I feel like we should go in here. We've been talking about the Steelers for a while. So the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday's NFL games looked not too promising if you just look at the teams that are matching up against each other. But this 1 o'clock slate was probably one of the best slates in the season so far. We got Panthers and Chiefs, where Bryce Young is finally looking like that #1 pick that he has been trying to prove that he is. He got benched earlier in the season, and he plays his best game against the defending champs who are 9-1, now
Yeah,
10-1.
yeah. Like I said, we said this before. We're like looking at the game Sunday. We're like, are there any good games? We're like, eh. And I go, well, Chicago and Minnesota might be a good game. But then, like you said, quite often this happens a lot. You see it in college and you see it in pros. When you look at the games, you're like, those aren't good games. That team's gonna win. That team's gonna win. Those aren't going to be competitive. And it seems like almost every time that's when you get your best games. And like you said, Carolina took Kansas City right down to the end. If it wasn't for a Patrick Mahomes run, another run down the sideline to get them in field goal range, who knows? That game might have went to overtime.
Yeah.
And like I said, Bryce Young looked pretty good, and that's a good defense.
Right.
Their offense hasn't been great this year, but their defense has. It's still good. I don't think it's quite as good as last year, but it's still good. And Bryce Young, like I said, he played well. So that makes me think: are the Panthers getting better, or is the Chiefs still are not that good? I don't know. A little of both, I guess. But
Let's take a I want to take a look at something here. So last year was Bryce Young and CJ Stroud's first years in the NFL. Of course, Stroud had a lot of success. Bryce Young obviously got that slow start, didn't really get the help either. He wasn't put in the best situation. He got benched earlier in the season from poor play. Gave Dalton a few games, and Bryce Young gets put back in there against the Denver Broncos, his first start since being benched. I want to tell you the stats from the last couple of games. This is since week 8, comparing Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Bryce Young has played 4 games since week 8. He has 784 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 3-1 record. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, 5 games, 1,200 passing yards, just over that, 4 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a 2-3 record. Let's not jump ship too early in saying the Panthers made the wrong pick, because right now Bryce Young is playing better and putting his team in a better chance to win rather than CJ Stroud.
yeah, and everybody is saying, oh, the Panthers got it wrong. CJ Stroud, he's so great. And he was great last year, but he's not being great this year. And
This is why after one season, you don't call a rookie a bust. You need to wait at least 3 or 4 seasons before you can start having those talks.
that used to always be the case. They'd give these guys 3, 4, 5 seasons before they would say, okay, it's not going to work. He just doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, in today's society and culture, you want everything instantly.
You got no patience. You got no patience to let a player develop. It's still the same as it was years ago. A player needs to develop no matter where they go.
I mean, giving a player 1 year and say, oh, yeah, he might be a bust. I mean, that's what everybody was saying about him. And he did look bad last year. I'm not denying that, even at the beginning of this year. But hey, it takes a while. Peyton Manning was not good his rookie year. He threw like 30 some interceptions. You got to give it time. And after 2 or 3 years, then okay, fine.
I mean, you look at Sam Darnold even this year. He's got the Vikings in position to be a top playoff seed.
I know. And how long has he been? 7 years, maybe 6, 7 years.
Yeah, he's been in the league since like 2018. So
Wasn't
yeah,
he drafted with Josh Allen?
yes,
Yes.
he was in Josh Allen's. So it's 2018.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Sam Darnold played for the Jets. The Panthers got a year as a backup with the 49ers last year, decides to sign with the Vikings. And let's be honest here, the Vikings were probably going to go with J.J. McCarthy if not for that injury. But you look at it now, Sam Darnold took that opportunity and ran with it and showed NFL fans, hey, I can play. I can be a quarterback in this league.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, you just never, it's a lot of it's all about situation. The team you drafted to. Sam Darnold's drafted to the Jets. Well, we see what the Jets are every year.
We see what the Jets are doing with Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks the game has ever seen.
It's all about the situation you get drafted into, the coaches around you. If you're not drafting the right situation, then I mean, even Josh Allen, his first couple years, he wasn't great. He threw a lot of interceptions.
Yeah.
I mean, it took him, I think it was his 3rd year before he really started to.
His 3rd year, he wasn't really the best he could have been either. I mean, he got that team to the playoffs. He improved.
Yeah,
it's all about consistently improving every year.
Right. And you're seeing that with Bryce Young.
Yep.
So, hey, they might have something there eventually. And he's got nobody to throw the ball to.
Yeah,
Nobody.
they traded their only weapon.
Their best receiver, they've traded away. So,
and he's still making it work. I mean, with Thielen coming back this week, that was huge. He made a bunch of big plays in that game.
So yeah, I mean, he might make it yet. So, but like you said, and then what was the Chicago game went to overtime.
I want to talk more about that game. I mean, we're on the rookie talk. Caleb Williams. I mean, People aren't giving him a chance at all. Look at his offensive line. This is the guy that got sacked 9 times against the New England Patriots. I'll repeat, the New England Patriots.
Yeah, look at his stat line
Look at
against
his stat line. He played phenomenal. That was, I think, his first game since the Bears got rid of their offensive coordinator, and he probably that was his best game yet of his rookie career.
Look at that, 340 yards, 103 passer rating, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He played, like you said, a great game.
And you see these. He has had some pretty great games. The Colts, he turned the ball over, but he played well. You got against the Panthers, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 126 rating. Then right after that against the Jaguars, that right there was one of the best
That was probably
performance.
his best game.
Yeah, that was his best game. 4 touchdowns with a 124 rating. Wow.
Look at his season stat line: 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 85 rating. And you've got people on all these short shows saying, "Oh, I don't know about Caleb Williams. He might be a bust." Blah blah blah. Are you kidding me? He's a rookie, and he's that. I mean, I would have killed for that from Kenny Pickett, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett threw. I don't know if he threw 11 touchdowns this whole 2 years with Pittsburgh, and he's doing it his first year, and it's only half over. And like you said, he has no offensive line.
Like you said, you see all those people talking about Caleb Williams. I'm not throwing shade at Daniels. I know he's a rookie too, but all those people that are gassing up Jaden Daniels in his first couple of years, now that he's showing that he's human and he has a couple of struggles, are you saying the same thing about him? He's a bust. He doesn't have what it takes because
I haven't heard that. No.
because he hasn't been playing the greatest either.
No, they've lost 3 in a row. And before they lost those games, it was like, oh, Jaden Daniels, he's a superstar in the making. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. Well, slow down a minute there.
And like I said, I'm not dogging on him. He's a great player. He's shown that he can be a great player, but he's also just a rookie, just like Caleb Williams. He's still learning.
That's what I mean. Everybody's got this instant gratification on all these players.
And I mean,
this is not how it goes.
Take a look at one more rookie, Bo Nix. He's playing phenomenal, and he got off to not the greatest start.
Yeah, no, and he's 7-5 as a starter. I mean, he's a rookie. He's getting better every game,
and he's getting better at the right time. This Broncos team has a chance to sneak into the wild card.
I mean, look at his stats: 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
But he hasn't turned the ball over in 3 straight games.
Yeah, and he's a rookie. I mean, those are phenomenal stats. Granted, you look at the Raiders and say they're not very good, but the Chiefs are.
And the Falcons are not the worst team in the world.
I mean, the only really bad game he had, he didn't play good against Pittsburgh. Those are the first 2 games of the season.
Yeah.
As a rookie. And you can't ask for more than that. So I think all 3 of those guys are going to be good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
For a while. And
I mean, this quarterback class is going to be good. I mean, you said those 3 quarterbacks. We're forgetting about Drake May in New England. He may not be in the wins, but he is improving, and he got thrown into a bad situation.
Yeah, he's on a horrible team. Those guys are on, even Caleb Williams. Well, his team isn't great, but he's got offensive weapons. So the Patriots have nothing.
Yeah.
So they have no offense at all. So yeah, this is going to be one of those better quarterback draft classes that you're going to see. Like the one coming up, I don't think is very good. You know, that was a good one. So if you want a quarterback, last year was the year to get it. So I feel bad for those teams this year that are looking for a quarterback because I'm not crazy about any of them.
Yeah.
But hey, you never know though. But yeah, crazy how those games worked out on Sunday afternoon there at 1:00. The afternoon games weren't as good. They were competitive for a little while, but except for the Green Bay game. But yeah.
Yeah, and then the Sunday night game was just a complete slaughter.
Yeah, you know, those 1:00 games, they seem to always come through, don't they?
Yeah.
The better team matchups they usually try to save for later in the day. Those 1:00 games don't disappoint. They're always 2 or 3 games that are really close right to the end, and crazy things go on, and it's just, yeah. That's why the NFL is so good.
First play of the week coming from Eagles and Rams. A handoff to Saquon Barkley. He's through, and he's past the blue jerseys. See you later. Touchdown, Saquon and the Eagles. Tim at 255 rushing yards, which, fun fact, is his career high single game rushing record for the Eagles.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's been so good this year.
Coming from Commanders and Cowboys, Daniels takes the snap. Daniels looking. He's throwing downfield. He's got Terry. McLaurin past midfield. McLaurin, he will go! Touchdown, Washington!
That's a great play, but that's got to be some of the worst defense I've ever seen.
Wow. You let Terry get past your defense, and Commanders fans, just for your sake, we will not show the play after this.
How many guys missed him? 5?
There's another one. Yep, five Cowboys
guys.
defenders just let him run right by for the touchdown.
Wow.
Well, Commanders fans, I told you I wouldn't show the extra point, but we will have to show this play. Cavante Turpin muffs the kick, gets a hold of it. Turpin with a spin move, and Turpin is by! Cavante Turpin, cyber to beat, not even a chance. Touchdown, Cowboys!
What a play. How did that even happen? How do you go backwards and then end up with that? You think that's going to be a tackle for like at the 15, right?
Yeah,
That spin did it. It was that spin.
that was the great move that
Because
got
they had him.
Yeah.
That spin, wow. That's one of the better ones I've seen. Because those two guys right there, yep. I'd hate to be those two guys in film.
What multiplayer games do you have, Colin?
Caleb Downs is back. Left it bounce to him. Another spin move. And another
Caleb
returner that finds the defense. Caleb Downs cuts inside. Caleb Downs gives Ohio State a punt return. 76 yards.
What a touchdown. Caleb Downs, he's does everything.
Coming from Seahawks and Cardinals. Murray rolls out. He's looking, and it's tipped and intercepted. Kobe Bryant down the sideline. Bryant will take it the distance. Touchdown, Seahawks. And a little tribute to Marshawn at the end.
Wow. What was he thinking on that pass? Wow, that was
I can't tell. It looks like he was going for Wilson, but
It
just
wasn't tipped.
way overshot him.
just, oh my God. Kyler Murray had a bad game yesterday.
That was not the greatest pass. I get what he was doing, but it landed in the hands of the other team, and Mike is fired up. Well, Dad, that is the end of today's podcast, but you got any predictions for us?
Well, I think my predictions are going to be in college football. 2 big games, Texas A&M and Texas. And even though it's not a real big game in the standings, it's still a big game. It's Ohio State and Michigan.
Okay.
So
I think we know our predictions for that second game.
I'm going with Michigan, only with my heart. I would be shocked if they win, but it is a rivalry game. You just never know.
I have to take Ohio State, but I'm just going to say those boys better not take it easy on Michigan because this is still a rivalry game no matter what the standings say.
Yeah, it's either going to be a blowout Ohio State or it's going to be one of those right down to the end.
And then as far as the second game goes, I got Texas taking care of business. Texas A&M is a talented team. There's something about that coach I'm not liking.
I'm with you. I was going to go with Texas because I'm like, Texas just seems like they got a quarterback, and that game is in Texas A&M. It's a rivalry game.
Oh, it's in A&M.
That stadium is going to be absolutely
that might change my
bonkers.
I might change my answer. I thought it was in Texas. Okay.
So I'm going A&M.
You know what? Give me A&M in a close game. This one will end with the score 31-27.
I'm with you. Something like that. High 30s or low 30s. I got A&M. I'm going to say like maybe one last play of the game type of thing wins it. And I've got A&M, and that crowd goes absolutely bonkers.
And usually we end after predictions, but we wanted to do one more thing. What is your biggest performance and biggest disappointment?
Oh, yes. My biggest disappointment of the week has got to be the Alabama Crimson Tide. They had a chance to solidify their playoff position, and they went into Norman, Oklahoma, and just got absolutely blitzed. And my top performer is none other than Sam Darnold. He played a phenomenal game against the Bears, and I keep looking each week for him to like fall back to the old Sam Darnold, and it's not happening. He just keeps playing better and better. So I got Sam Darnold as my top player.
So as far as I go, those are good picks. As far as I got with biggest disappointment, I'm gonna go NFL side. And as far as I know, the score says it was close. I'm going with the Commanders. They just had way too much mistakes, and this Dallas team is just not good. It's at an all-time low. That's a game you got to go in and win
At home.
at home too. Yeah. Just not a good performance from them, and the missed extra point kind of put the topping on that.
Yes.
And as far as my top performer goes, this one is not even close for me. I'm going with Saquon Barkley. He played outstanding yesterday. Man, Giants fans got to be sick.
Yeah, he was awesome. He's the top performer of the weekend by far, no doubt about it. Phenomenal game.
Well, with that being said, that will end today's podcast. Once again, I'm Preston alongside my father, Mike, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Goodbye.